All right, let's get this shit over with.
About damn time. Oh, hang on, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Oh my fucking god!
No, I had a drain pan full of fucking oil and coolant sitting on my garage floor, and it was dark. I walked in there to smoke a cigarette, and guess where I stepped?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you dropped the cigarette in the oil.
So it would have been better if I was wearing my black Pumas, but no, we were wearing the all white ones.
Whites.
Wow.
Jesus.
Now we need some new fucking shoes. So that's cool.
Well, there you go. Guess there's a lesson here, huh?
Take care of your fucking oil when you're done with it.
I guess that works.
The following is a special presentation from the Captain Esports Network.
All right, welcome into the Skala cast, episode 4. Skala here with you, Telder, who's trying to figure out a way to get oil off of his white Pumas. Stephen Miles, who's winning championships and on a streak right now of top 5 finishes. And we're ready to go here with our weekly episodic podcast that is all of like 2,000 or 3,000 episodes short of that wrestling show that's on Monday nights.
Really?
I'm just saying. I mean, I was just literally reading a tweet about it, so it just kind of, I was like, all right, well, I guess we're right there on that line. But anyways, a lot of good fun tonight. Going to talk about the 24 Hours of Daytona and the IMSA race that was this weekend. And yes, we are going to mention the Mazdas and so on and so forth. We'll talk about NASCAR's return in a Coliseum, and a good friend of NASCAR is going to potentially make a return with it this weekend. So, and it's not a human of any kind. It's more of a moisture. Also, we'll talk about league racing. Telder, we'll let him recap his week before we forget about him again. We'll talk about how VRs are not good for iRacing.
Oh man.
You should have known this was coming, Miles.
Is it? Yeah. Are they not good?
I think so. I personally think they're a terrible idea for iRacing. I don't have a problem with them, just iRacing. Let's see. And also how Miles won a championship last Wednesday night. So that and all types of good stuff. Plus Casey Carrington will be here to talk about the season preview of Friday night's Daytona race and the 14 races coming up that I'll let you take a guess who will be in that race. Stephen Miles. So in case you haven't realized, Miles races everywhere.
I try to.
Yes. How was everyone's weekend?
Uneventful.
Too fast for me.
I do agree on the too fast part, and I would say it was uneventful, but I ran a 3-hour Suzuka endurance race Sunday. And
yeah, we heard you get mad. Don't worry.
Yeah,
we were there. We were there.
I got quite emotional. I run flawlessly for about 2 hours and 40 minutes, and then I forgot which hairpin I was in, and well, it was the one that you had to slow down a little bit more, and threw it in the barrels. Thankfully, the car that caught me coming back on track and destroyed my left side hasn't protested me as of now. But
just wait for it
before the miles comes out. Well, the worst part about it is the guy I hit ended up being disqualified at that moment for hitting his number of X's. So
you're that guy.
I'm that guy. I took that guy out, literally, unfortunately. I did apologize to him, in fairness. I sent him a message and apologized. I said, my bad.
That fixes everything.
It doesn't fix everything, but at least it's, at least I was professional enough to say, hey, dude, that's on me. 99% of iRacing don't know it.
Most people don't understand iRacing, and getting, like, you do have the ability to talk to people, whether it's via voice chat, via text chat, and for those of you that don't know iRacing or have never played it, it has a straight voice system or whatever, and it's like you get wrecked by live people online. It's all virtual online stuff. You would be surprised how many people will just never wreck you and never say anything.
Huh.
Will try and blame you for something that they blatantly did, even though the lobby's calling them out for what they did. But if you ever get into iRacing, anybody listening, and you cause a wreck, apologize to that person.
Right. When have you ever apologized?
I have apologized before. They're few and far between, but
Yeah, I would say.
people are way like people may not seem like it in the moment, but 10 minutes later, that person's gonna be way less irritated with you if you just accept fault and admit you messed up.
The problem on my end is obviously I didn't know that I had ended that guy's race until after the race. So it was about 25, 30 minutes later. Thankfully, he never keyed up or said anything, or else I'd have said, dude, my bad. But yeah, it is what it is. So, and then I conquered the Nürburgring this week too in an IMSA fix. I did run it a second time on Monday. Did not go as well. I junked it. And then ran the VRS sprint race right before we recorded and finished 7th in that race, but was cussing a storm too because I screwed up a couple times. But
That's road racing for you.
pretty much,
Yep,
right?
that's road racing.
Tell you what, Suzuka is a fun track in a GT car.
Can't say I ran it in an Indy car and that's it. I have not ran it in a GT car.
Ooh, 130R in an Indy car.
Yeah, it was in that old TI AOWRS league.
Whatever, yeah. The Isaac's League or Lewis's League, whatever you want to call it.
Isaac and Lewis's league, whatever you want to call it, yeah. So. But anyway, so let's move on now to recapping the 24 Hours of Daytona from this weekend in Daytona Beach, Florida.
You know what's funny is Telder does this. Like, you ever had your mouse like get stuck on a screen? I can't get it over to the other screen. I guess Alt Tab will do it. Anyways, yeah. The 24 Hours of Daytona, Felipe Nasser or whatever, former F1 driver. He goes out and wins the race and gives Penske its first win. Right for this one. First win in the 24 Hours of Daytona since 1969.
Wow.
It's hard to believe it's been that long since Penske has won a 24-hour race.
At Daytona.
Or at Daytona. You know,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you meant. But like, and back then, there was no bus stop. I would have loved to have ridden then. And there was like a very modified course. It was not the same course they ran in these days. And that's probably back with like Mark Donahue and those guys, I would think, back in those days. I'd have to go see who the team was then. But 1969, his first win in the 24 since that moment. But let me break this down a little bit more. So since 2022, Roger Penske has won the Daytona 500. He's won the Coke 600, the Indianapolis 500, 2 NASCAR Cup titles, 2 IndyCar titles. And oh, by the way, the Coke 600 and Indy 500 were in the same day.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, right? He's done all of that in 2 years.
Those are most owners' accomplishments in their lifetime of owning, a motorsports team or multiple motorsports teams. This man has done all of that in the last 2 years.
So let's add the 24 Hours of Daytona in there. Oh, and by the way, he's got a team going to Le Mans in June. So heaven forbid he goes and wins that show.
I mean, it'd be fitting at this point, but
yeah, no kidding, right? I mean, it's weird because like his IndyCar team's obviously been top notch for years. His Cup team has its ups and downs, but seems like when clutch time gets here, shows up. I mean, the man knows how to build organizations, I guess. So
it's just impressive the fact that it's been what's the quick math on that? 55 years since he's won the 24 Daytona.
Yeah, and I'm guessing he drove the car at that point too.
Because I possibly could have.
I mean, I remember the video of him going around Road America that surfaced a couple years ago, and the track looked totally different, even though it looks the same layout and everything. But yeah, congratulations to those guys. Reese, I've been practicing this word all day. Capentenzioni.
Oh, wow.
Something like that. But they won GTD Pro. It's a Ferrari, by the way. Shout out to Clark. And the Windward Racing Mercedes, also shout out to Clark, won the Pro-Am GTD class. So I guess I didn't get a chance really to see the breakdown this year because obviously the last couple of years it was GTE and GTD, which is GT Le Mans and Daytona. So I assume the Pro-Am, obviously you bring on a amateur and a pro driver that have certain grades that they have to rate per their experience and stuff. I'm assuming you guys don't know that.
No.
I didn't know I did that. You guys were that. So, by the way,
So I just threw
into
you
it,
guys out there. It happens.
yeah, looking into it, by the way,
Mhm.
Donahue and Parsons were the winning team in 1969. It was a 2-driver 24-hour team.
In cars that had none of the technology they have today. So they were power steering and all that stuff. What was the car? Was it a Matador?
It was a Lola T70 MK3B GT Chevrolet.
I think I got one of those in my garage.
They won by 30. They won that race by 30 laps.
So when you think
second
about
place,
30 laps. So when you think about the close finishes you get today in those kind of races, 30 laps. I mean, that won't ever be done again. That's like Ned Jarrett Darlington when he won by 14 laps.
It's like Tim Steele and Arca.
Well, nobody will ever beat Ned Jarrett at Darlington's 14 lap win in the, I forget what year it is, Southern 500. But yeah, so I'll have to look up the pro-am stuff while we talk here. But that's what happened in the 24-hour race. There really wasn't any big drama. I guess the rain maybe was the biggest drama. It was like maybe it was kind of a tease, like, hey, this is sort of a NASCAR event. Let's tease that we're in Daytona and we're just going to go just north of the racetrack and not rain.
Yeah, we were watching about 1, 2 a.m. Saturday night, and they had all the teams had the rain tires on the wall. They were ready for it. Which actually I did not know. Did you know that the GTD cars and the prototype cars run different wet weather tires?
Both Michelins, I assume, right?
They're both Michelins, but they run different like tread patterns and stuff on them.
Interesting.
Yeah, then they were a vast the GTP tires were almost like slick straight groove rain tires, whereas the GTD tires were like something you put on your Dodge Nitro.
That's interesting. You would think they'd run the same tread or whatever. I wonder why.
You would think so, but they are completely different tires, I guess.
You said GT, that was GTD and GT or the GTP or the Pro-Am?
No, all the GT3 cars run a separate rain tire versus.
Well, I guess that makes sense because of the cars and how light they are and stuff compared to how heavy the GTD cars are.
Yeah, it was kind of fascinating to sit there and see what the difference was between them.
Interesting.
It blew my mind. I would assume they just, they're all running the same tires.
All right, so real quickly, GTD Pro is designed for factory-backed teams running professional drivers. GTD is centered around customer teams and a Pro-Am driver lineup.
Oh, okay.
There's your difference. So, yeah. And then, of course, I did have to put down the Mazda race because, I mean, we were all hyped up about it, and it lived up right to its name. Race number 1, Gresham Wagner winning by all of 6 100ths. There's a photo on one of the articles I was reading just to kind of make sure I had all the notes and stuff to it. Had like 11 cars in the finish. I was like, my gosh.
It was wild, man.
And in Mazda race number 2, Nate Cicero pretty much outran the field on the final lap. He just kind of got out there and got far enough out to where it was like, you're not going to catch me. And he crossed the line and won the race. But race 1 had no cautions. And then race 2 had 1 caution. I'll let you guess who owned the car that wrecked.
Penske?
It has a very similar comparison to a car that wrecked last week.
Was it Rick Ware Racing?
It was a Rick Ware Racing car. You can't make this up. I'm just saying. But yeah, that was I thought, 24 did its part. I mean, you had the drama. You had the, was it the 14 car, the Vassar Sullivan car, like one of the first laps of the race gets destroyed. The other one catches on fire. You had Wayne Taylor Racing cars have trouble. I mean, you had the typical dramas of a 24-hour race. So,
yeah, I saw both. The fact that they have that new Mustang GT3 car they're running now, and shocker, both of them broke within 10 hours. The people on the internet were loving that.
Well, I mean, and let's be real here. Usually, when a car debuts like that, it usually has issues. I mean, look at pretty much every new car that comes out. I mean, the Mazda, that poor thing, when it had its the hybrid engine in it, that thing couldn't last more than 5 hours in a race. It seemed like anywhere. I had to abort that mission. I think of that. The Delta Wing, never had a chance. There's so many just different cars that had their issues like that, but they'll get it fixed.
It's expected. Yeah, it's expected. And it doesn't help that the first race they debut the car in is the granddaddy of them all.
Right.
You know, this isn't a 6-hour race at Watkins Glen or a 12-hour race at Sebring. Nope. This is 24 straight hours at Daytona out of the production facility.
You would think that maybe they would think, hey, you know what? Maybe let's debut it in the 2025 Daytona race and let's run like VIR and a couple tracks that are like just regular races and progress through that way.
Yeah, with the money, like, because obviously we all know they're going to get it figured out.
Right.
And it's going to be sooner rather than later. They know what broke now. They know what, can be improved on now.
Mm-hmm.
That they need to fix the spoiler with the rear arms that come out 3.5 feet off the back. They said that broke a lot of stuff in the rear end because the spoiler had too much sway back and forth on it from the length of the mounting arms for the spoiler, because it was a chassis mount spoiler, but it was not mounted from under the car like your traditional chassis mount would be. It was mounted through the trunk lid, which I guess it's swaying back.
Kind of
an
old school.
Yeah, I guess it's swaying back and forth from what I understood. It ended up breaking the trunk deck, which they had to replace twice. It started to break the rear quarter panels on the car. And I guess they had to refasten them down multiple times, like inside on the chassis itself, because it was pulling itself loose, I guess.
I wonder, though, a quick fix to that. Would that be maybe some kind of support for the trunk? I mean, because obviously it sounds like it was a little hanging out there kind of free, like, if you will. So not enough support broke those brackets or whatever on the car. I wonder if I'm just trying to think engineering wise. I mean, I'm not an engineer. Luke! Yeah. Daniels. Or Austin. I'd rather have Austin. Anyways. All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that, but I'm interested to see what they come up with down the road or whatever. See what like a side by side comparison of what they do design wise, because clearly they need to do something there.
A quick fix there. So obviously racing season begins with the Daytona 24 and leads us into now the week off in football, which turns into the week of the Clash. And here we are, ready to go to Los Angeles again for the third time in the Clash at the Coliseum. Busch Light Clash at the Coliseum, which is going to have all the full-time teams that are chartered will race in this race or attempt to run in the race. Practice is Saturday night. Of course, they have the Mexico Series race. That's going to be on FS1. The big race is going to be on Fox. And we'll let the fans debate which one will be better. We kind of made a comment last week on which one we thought might be better. But I think it's going to be a fun show here. They got... obviously 23 cars instead of 27 cars are going to start the race. We kind of talked about the rules last week, but obviously going to be heat races, and winner of the first will start first, second for the second, and so on and so forth, back to a provisional driver that'll finish 23rd. So I went back and looked, and 3 drivers that you can consider favorites, 2 of them finished top 5 in both races, and that being Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon. Both driving for RCR, obviously now. They could be considered favorites, which at the same time, you could consider Austin Dillon a sleeper maybe because of, unfortunately, the way his team has ran the last few seasons, basically. Kyle Larson finished top 10 in both races, also could be considered a favorite. What do you guys think?
I think your defending winner is probably you got to put him in there too.
Mm-hmm. Christopher Bell, I think he put in there with his, obviously short track driving and how he does things. But what's different here, though, is this isn't a track you race like a dirt track. It's one that I don't know how else to put it.
You shove people out of the way.
That's why you can't really pick a winner, man, because it's just going to be a bunch of bumping and knocking people out the way. So
we say that, but last year, remember Ryan Preece started like mid-pack or towards the back and went through the field.
How he did it, though?
I mean, it was a mixture of passing. I mean, he went to the top side and passing people. But yes, he did use defender at times, too.
Yeah, but then ultimately, what happened to him? He got dumped doing the exact same thing.
Well,
yeah, back where he started.
Right, a demo derby at the end. Yeah. But so I think Priest you could put as a sleeper. Is there potentially another sleeper that we might see show up and be like,
I think you got to include Michael McDowell in that.
Yeah,
he was up front last year before the car broke.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the Stuart Haas cars. I mean, Almirola started on pole last year.
I see
Briscoe's been
Josh
fast.
Berry, your short track ace now filling Kevin Harvick's seat there.
Right.
I think Harvick did not have the mental fortitude for that kind of race. Yeah, that's not how he drove.
No need for me here. No need for me to be here.
I've watched Josh Berry in a super late model move multiple people out of the way. He will do
it. Hey, you do what you need to do, especially now with that 4-car. So no pressure for him. I can't help but think though, are we going to have an upset this weekend as like drivers not making the race that should have been in? Like, for instance, just throwing a name out there.
I think so. Yes.
William Byron.
No, I think he get in.
I don't think it's going to be somebody just being outran. I think you are going to have surprising people miss the race, but it's not going to be because of their driving. It's going to be somebody else's driving.
Right?
They're going to get moved and spun out late in the race, with not enough time to make it up. Something like that, or something transaxle is going to break. Like we had a few of those break last year.
Mm-hmm.
Something else. There's going to be your big name people that are not going to make this event. And it's going to be nothing that they did to do it, in my opinion.
I mean, a Bubba Wallace could be one. Maybe a Reddick. I mean, Reddick broke the transaxle a couple years ago. But, you're going to have cars shifting. I didn't see... Are they running the new short track package here?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, I did not see that part. So, it's going to be interesting. And then the one element that I haven't mentioned yet. The friend of NASCAR is making an appearance potentially this weekend. The rain. Obviously teased the race this weekend, but it looks like in the forecast, like after Saturday, it's rain Sunday, rain Monday.
Oh, it was rain Saturday too.
There was a rain Saturday? Okay.
Yeah, it was like Saturday afternoon. It was like half an inch of rain or something Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. We're not going to run the rain tires in a half inch of rain. I'm just going to throw that out there. Not to mention the asphalt's fresh. We know how fresh asphalt and rain work.
You might be surprised. They may try it.
I mean, yeah, but
I hope they do try it.
Fresh asphalt with rain. I mean, that's where you get the track that looks like there's soap on it because of that grime or whatever it's on the track or on the roads. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that part if they're going to try that. But we'll see. We'll see. That'll be 8:00 is the main event Sunday night. So I actually have a broadcast. Miles, you're racing. I have a broadcast that night, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But that'll be the clash coming up here Sunday night, the start of the season. So in the debut of Kevin Harvick in the booth with Boyer, Boyer's already on Mount Everest right now because of the Kansas City win on Sunday in football. So good luck, boys. It's going to be hard to tame him. So with that said, Daytona 500, 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away. Right after the week after the big game, The Rock has been named the Grand Marshal for the event. He seems to be involved in these NASCAR events a lot. I remember a Texas race where he did the gentlemen start your engines for the race. And I can't.
Who do we got to pay off to get Kevin James to do it again?
Oh, well, him and Sandler both or just one?
I don't know. His solo one was still a soundboard or sound bit in a bunch of people's sound clips. So
here's the problem: did Kevin James kind of ruin himself with NASCAR because of the whole TV show?
See, I didn't. Do you ever watch that show? By the way,
I watched like 2 episodes, and I'm like, oh boy. I mean,
those of you that don't know, just think we're talking on left field here. Kevin James did a NASCAR show on Netflix. It was a singular season.
I don't remember the call. I don't remember what it was called.
What was it called? I know I watched the whole thing and I was like, oh, this is
The Crew.
Okay, like
was it The Crew?
The Crew. That's right. Yeah. I think something like that.
So yeah,
it's got to be The Crew.
Yeah, something like that. Austin Dillon and Ryan Blaney. So basically, was it Kevin James as a driver or like runs?
No, he was the crew chief. He was the crew chief.
Yeah.
I mean, it was entertaining to watch. I enjoyed it.
A for effort. So, yeah. But going back to it, yeah, Kevin James would be fun. I think The Rock will do good. The question is The Rock going to be part of the Super Bowl the week before? I would think yes, because usually he's there doing like the lineups or whatever. I know he's done a few of them. And if I remember correctly, he was a part of the Niners Chiefs game a couple years ago when he did the starting lineups. So
I believe he was, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be interested there. Pitbull's going to do the pre-race show, I think, for a second straight year. Or is it Luke Combs last year? I thought it was Pitbull.
I think it was Pitbull last year.
So he gets a second straight year of the stage. So that'd be cool. I like how they're kind of just came to my head. The Clash, we get MGK. The 500, we get Pitbull.
Ugh. Don't even get me started.
I guess we know which one they spent more money on, right? Anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
Or you wonder if Pitbull maybe gave him the owner's discount.
See, that's what I was debating is like, how do I ever feel about that being the fact that he's one of the team owners at that point too?
I mean, he probably got a discount to get out there and perform. NASCAR probably didn't have to pay him or something. But you never know. I'm trying to remember who's throwing the green flag. Have they announced any of that part yet?
I don't think they have. I have not seen any notes on that. So who's doing that this year?
Well, that race will be February the 18th, I believe is the day. So it'll be the anniversary of Dale's death. Again, will be the 500 this year. 23 years. Wow. Oh, could that be an omen? Bubba Wallace?
Ooh. I don't have enough tinfoil for this kind of conversation.
Oh, man. So, yep, Clash this weekend, 502 weeks after the Super Bowl. So that leads us into league racing.
So, Skala, league racing.
Yes.
How did all your broadcasts go this week?
What do you think? All but one went pretty well.
Do we have any technical difficulties this week?
Yeah, one of them I forgot to turn the audio on. That was just me not hitting a button.
What's sad is that was TI.
That was the Tuesday night race. Maybe
Which is crazy because I had the broadcast on in the background while I was racing, and I didn't notice.
Well, here's the thing. I thought about that a little bit. And first thing, I'm blaming a dog for biting my microphone cord. Anyways, or whatever. But
this guy.
I'm evil.
This will all make sense to everybody listening in a brief moment because we will go over why we made this joke a couple times now at this point.
So you heard the audio with no problem, it sounds like. And what I think happened is the audio, I am notorious. I have a speaker, a Bluetooth speaker that sits behind my monitors that has the sound of the cars. My headset has the audio of like the drivers, Discord, pretty much anything that plays on OBS comes through my ears. The audio of the cars comes through my speaker. The audio was probably so loud in my speaker that it was coming into my microphone. Hence where it sounded like there might not have been a problem.
It didn't sound like a backhand audio though.
No. Like Casey Carrington's like, yeah, you realize there was no audio, and it clicked right in my head. I was like, I never turned the audio on. So yeah, and that led to some perfect, so off the record conversations with Lewis that pretty much has got me focused on the broadcast now in those leagues. So but yeah, that was the second biggest problem that happened that night. Was my audio issues. There was an incident that unfortunately we don't know exactly. This might be an investigation for the rest of our lives at the rate it's going.
We'll never know.
We're never going to know what happened here. I mean, they said something about they found the plane potentially for Amelia Earhart. They can do that, but can't find a flight that comes out of like Persia or something with 300 people on it. But another story for another day. With that said, race it. Where were we at? I only remember the track now. Nashville. Thank you.
Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville Super Speedway. I'll keep the driver's name out just for respect. But a driver had his VR set on, and he pretty much chastains turn 1 and 2, and comes off of the wall in turn 2, and apparently his VR set went out. And during that whole thing, he proceeds to find a way to get his car back to the right and into the middle of the track. One of the three of us proceeded to hit that car. I was in the booth. Telder was behind it. Process of elimination. Even Miles, you're the winner here. Miles proceeds to go firewall deep.
He was going to be the winner here.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Keep in mind, those of you that obviously weren't a part of this, Miles was leading the race at this point in time.
Were you leading?
Yes, I was leading. I was leading by 2 seconds.
He was leading the race.
He proceeds to go, all the way up to, he almost got to the front tires. He about pulled an Alphin and went under the car.
To give you guys a better idea of what this looks like without seeing a video of it, everyone has been on the internet and seen those videos of like somebody's dash cam and they're flying through traffic and somebody moves over and brake checks them right in front of them, causes an accident.
Pretty much.
That is the exact replica of what happened here.
That's how it felt.
Yeah. So, of course, Miles is like, thanks, so-and-so, for it. And, of course, we go into investigation and trying to figure this all out. We find out that it started with I had a technical failure. Then it became my wheel had problems. Then it became my dog ate the cord or ate something that killed my VR set.
Yeah, it's cord. It's plug-in cable.
However,
we then found out the next day that his plug was actually, at least what he showed in a photo, was a USB.
Yep, and as somebody who has owned that exact VR headset that he was claiming to use, that cable is nowhere near there. Is not even a part of that. So the only cable you have on that headset, and it's if you choose to use the cable, because it is a completely wireless headset.
But
so if you choose to use that headset, it has a USB-C to USB-C black cable. Even all the aftermarket ones are black.
You did your research, huh?
I don't need to do my research. I owned one of them. I owned one and sold it.
Well, that's crazy because leading the race and finishing in the top 3 or 4 every race, and in this league, you gotta be so consistent. I ran in the back of him, went all the way to his front tires, and had picked up 2 minutes of damage. So I dropped from first and ended up finishing 15th. And the only excuse I get is my dog chewed up a cord. I was not too happy about that.
No, he was not happy about it. And needless to say, that driver is not racing at least the rest of the season. We say at least because there might be more to it. But anywho, so where I'm going with this
Tuesday night.
Yeah, that was the drama Tuesday night. And by the way, that was Miles's worst finish all week by like 12 positions. By the way, we'll get into the facts or cap later and discuss the whole VR rant part that I might go on. Let's get to the other leagues real quickly and get those out of the way. So
GLSR Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm. We have a new champion.
New champion. Our co-host here, Mr. Miles.
Thank you.
You're far too kind.
His first one in GLSR.
First one.
Beat Sam Fontaine, Jason Dalton, and Alex Bryson for that Final Four championship race.
That was a fun race to call. Now, unfortunately, yes, you had 17 drivers start the race, so 250 miles was kind of long. But it wasn't without the lack of drama. You had that traditional 1, 2, 3, 4 at one point. All 4 of them ran. You had, if I remember correctly, one particular driver bringing out both cautions due to a whole nother personal issue that you can't get. I'm like, Ben, I even said on the air, I'm like, when I heard what happened, I'm like, you can't get mad at the guy. I mean, the poor guy. I heard Miles is like, Ben, you couldn't go down pit road. I'm like, Miles, you have no clue what just happened, man. But that's the aggressiveness of Miles is driving, and when he's on the track, he's focused. But
it was a child incident, right?
It was a slight, an almost child incident. Let's call it that. Dads, don't let your child chew on bottle caps and stuff. And I'm not talking about the candy. So,
that's right. I did hear about what it was. I was trying to
yes.
blank. I was like, I thought it had something involving a child or a small kid or something like that. And now I do recall now what I was told about it. So
Yeah, so it looked weird because said driver, I won't mention name again out of respect, comes out of turn 4 and he just parks it in the middle of the track, which dumbfounded me because I'm like, why would that bring out the caution? But then, of course, there's another driver that's out there on his own island who just randomly comes driving by and brings the caution out, triggers the caution, because in iRacing, you got to have a certain distance between cars to get a triggered caution. And of course, there's that one. And then the green comes back out, and apparently he had to go fix it again because he like spins out or something and just leaves the race in the end. So that was 2 of the 3 cautions in the race. A third caution came out actually in the middle of pit stops, if I remember correctly. Why am I drawing a blank here on that third caution?
Wait, he said the second time his child hit the caution button on the keyboard.
yeah,
That's
Yeah,
what brought
I
the
heard that
second
was
caution out.
yeah,
Wait
the
a minute. So
second
we had
one-
2 of those this week?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had 2 of those. Yeah, we did. And the third caution
I'm drawing a blank on this. I had it written down somewhere.
was we in pit road. I think me and Fontaine was on pit road when the caution
Right.
came out. Somebody spun. It was a self spin by somebody. I forgot
Oh
who
my
it
gosh.
was.
How terrible I am at this.
It wasn't Tyler Pluff, was it?
Yeah, it was Tyler off turn
Yeah,
4. He wrecks
yeah.
off turn or turn 2. He pile
Yeah.
drives the inside wall.
That's what happened.
Yeah. So that was the third caution. Thank you. I'm like, who was it? So if you're, I gotta stop. So that's the name. Yeah. Anyway, so that means 4 cautions this week, or 3 cautions were due to a button issue, or 4 cautions
Yeah.
were due to either I shouldn't say a button issue. 2 of them were due to a technical issue, we'll call it. The other 2 were from hitting the button to throw out the caution. But man, Miles, obviously the racing itself, I mean, Bryson put up a fight. Dalton put up a fight. It looked like Dalton was going to be in there for a little bit. And obviously you could see in the race, you and Sam were slightly better than them too. And it looked like for a little bit, Sam might have been better on the longer run. Obviously Strayer got up in there a little bit and made things a little hectic. But you know, obviously in the end, it come down to the pit stops. You were able to get clear on a restart of Fontaine and were able to just get out there with enough distance to hold him off there to win this race. And I know in the interview, you were like almost speechless, like just trying to catch your breath of like that tough run. But this goes back to Sim 500 where you ran at 141 degree track temperature 2 Sundays before that race. So it helped you kind of prepare yourself for a track that was not on your favorites list.
Yeah, it did help me a lot, man. That race was just it was so complicated, man. It was a race within the race, and all 4 of us was right there, and you don't want to burn your stuff up and end up dropping from first or second to 5th or 6th. So me and Fontaine was playing possum with each other for the longest, and on the long runs, I'm becoming a believer of that over refresh because even with me saving running the bottom, he was able to go up to the top in 1 and 2 and find a line where he could keep that momentum to stay with me. And even though like the whole run, man, everybody was running the same times. It didn't matter about where you ran on the track. It was just crazy to me. So we were just thinking about racing each other with respect and figuring out how to break apart from the other crew. I'm talking about me and Bryson and
Right.
Fontaine, that last restart before that long green, me and him ran side by side like for a good 10 laps. And it was just me and him racing with each other. Usually I'll let somebody go past and say my stuff, but right then, I mean, I told you before the race, I didn't want to leave nothing on the table, so I raced him and let him push his stuff to the limit, I felt. And when I finally let him go and then just cool my stuff a couple more laps, I seen Strayer coming on the outside, so I just in my head was like, it's time to make a movie, like we gotta go. So that's when I took the lead back and Strayer got second. That's when me and Strayer kind of distanced ourselves, and you could tell towards the end Fontaine burned his stuff up a good bit. And that was my race in my head, was me against the other three. Strayer was there, but I can't race him. I'm racing for something bigger. And I mean, he short pitted, and then I seen them two pit, and I was gonna try to stretch it to 20, and it was lap 27, and I pitted behind them, and I was just wondering, how did I stay so far ahead of them after that pit stop and was able to keep that clean air, and eventually run down Strayer and Majeski and Alfin, which was he was on a different strategy trying to save. And I look back on it, and I beat him like 4 or 5 seconds just in and off of pit road. And
Wow.
I learned, me and Strayer, I think we ran the same time, like 42 seconds. I think Fontaine and Dalton was like 46, 47. Like, they came on the pit road too easy. And I learned something right there about just, I mean, I was pushing everything to the edge. You you even said on the broadcast, like, he's getting there hot. And I was, man. I was trying to get any advantage, man, because that's what I had to do to add it up to try to make my run. And towards the end of the race, man, my car was on rails. Like, the track temp or whatever happened, all that rubber build up. We'll get in that race from tomorrow, but that rubber build up, I'm starting to learn about that with this over refresh too, of trying to find the line that most people haven't been running, and that's where the grip is at.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, that race was, it was crazy. It was, I mean, we was all right there underneath a blanket. AB did his part. He told me, he was like, I'm coming from behind and I'm finna try to race him and try to give you a little breather. And I appreciate him for that, because he know I do the same for him. So it was a good overall day, man, and finally got one, and it felt like I mean, it was well deserved. And man, yeah, I mean, I was still speechless. It still don't feel real. I still wanna. It don't even feel like I won it. Honestly, I just want to keep trying to get better. So
Well, that's how you are. And yeah, Alex got in there towards the end of the race, the last 20 laps, and actually fought with Fontaine and Dalton together, and just did enough to aggravate him and hold him off to where
yeah,
you were able to scoot away.
yeah,
And
he could, like, that's saying how unselfish like our team is, but I could say our team, but AB is, man, because he could have he had fresher tires just like me. He could have rolled the bottom, saved the stuff, and eventually passed both of them towards the end of the race to benefit himself, but he wanted to hurry up and get up there and do something about it right then while he could to benefit me. And man, I thank him for it, man.
that was awesome to see. So, congrats obviously to you and to now you didn't get the team championship.
Yeah, we lost the
Um,
team championship. It's
but
all good.
you got the driver one, so hey, go get that one next season. But so it was a fantastic race there at Homestead, and something you talk about is that refresh, because I'm starting to see a heck of a lot more at different tracks just put on a great show. And no matter what series it is, it gets me excited seeing the high bank tracks.
Yeah,
And with these series coming up, that it's like, man, we're going to see cars be able to move around. Now, I'm curious to see the flat tracks too. Now, when you get to, Sim 500 running at New Hampshire, they're at Phoenix this week, the old Phoenix. I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to be on a legacy track. But, needless to say, I'm just excited about it. I mean, Telder, how's it, for you? You run, your league on Monday and Wednesday that you're in is a lot of short tracks. Are you seeing it there too?
Yeah. Lot more less dominant low side tracks than your traditional short track. Everyone runs a bottom feeder type race. Definitely seeing a lot more of it, being able to like pass the high side, at least hold on to the high side for a little bit longer too. Lot more running like a track that would normally be like you put your left side tires on the apron of the racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
Lot more of running half a lane up or half a car up. It's faster.
yeah.
It's definitely starting to lay rubber down farther up the track.
Which is good. So that's what we need, in some of these races, especially if you're running like a Cars Tour late model race or modified. That'll make some of those tracks really fun to, kind of battle side by side for a win or something like that. So that's kind of cool to see. So what do we got next? Let's see. Sim 500 cover. What we got, Telder?
Thursday.
Next, we got our most controversial segment, the good old facts or cap.
Well, no, we got Sim 500. We're still in the league section.
Thursday.
We got Thursday. We got Sim 500.
I don't run any more leagues, so
Friday.
I'm out of it. I'm out of it at this point. So.
I just wanted to talk to you about the progressive or the. You had one job. No, I'm just kidding.
To be honest, I listened to Miles talk about what a great driver he was for the last 10 minutes, and I lost completely where we were at. So.
My bad.
So no, so obviously Thursday night Talladega TI race was a wild one. Only one caution, which I mean, yeah, there maybe should have been 2 or 3, but one caution.
Are you sure that was a TI race?
It was a TI race. It was a TI race, and it was wild. I mean,
it was a good one.
They were respectful. I mean, the trucks you can push. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, you put them on Daytona like you're going to see Tuesday night in a Gen 4 car, and you're going to see a couple cars probably tangle because somebody's going to try to push the other. I might have to get KC to give me the setup he ran Friday night in the exhibition race and say, all right, so squat these cars, do the Miles squat with the car. I was waiting for.
I don't want that setup. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Telder, Friday night, you need to go watch the broadcast if you haven't already. We had the Miles squat going in the Gen 4 car.
Yeah, it's not right. I don't think so.
I just thought of another facts or cap thing that's gonna not on the list, but I'm gonna add it to it based on what was just discussed.
I like it. So, but with that said, we obviously had the one caution in that race, and ended up being Tim Averill winning that race. After, of course, there were some wrecks there at the end. And there was some interesting drama in that race, more from aggressive driving and stuff that I think could play a role later on with some drivers in that. But big shout out to him, Averill, on getting the win at that race. Miles, you finished 3rd in that race, so you're starting to see a trend here. Obviously, that led us into Friday night, the All-American preseason race, the Thunder race that they ran at Daytona. And I kind of said it a second ago, where the cars, Casey tried out some things. He dropped down the rear end. So think of it like going down the road and you got that Chevy S10 or whatever. It's got the drop on it in the back end, and you got pretty much the whole entire back end of the car is literally dragging the ground. That's pretty much what we had.
It looks like my Chevy Cruze outside right now.
You could say that. So, I mean, I knew something was weird. I didn't even know about this until the practice. And I'm like, why am I seeing like the engine underneath the car almost? But then I figured out what was going on. And the reason why was they were trying to create the push with the car, because again, with the car so far up and the nose not matching, it just picks up the car off the ground. So they put the car down so you could push it almost. And led to, unfortunately, some wrecks. It was a typical preseason race. Good experiment. I credit him for trying it. And in that race, it was actually the driver of the, now I've just went brain dead again.
48.
The 48. Thank you. It was not Dean, by the way.
Cam Ingram.
Cam Ingram. Yes, the same Cam that runs at GLSR, who won in the Lowe's 48 car. So he was pretty excited about that Friday night. But the real race comes up this Friday, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes with Casey Carrington, who will be on to preview the season of 14 races coming up, and a new sponsor that'll be a part of that. So,
but I'm like, I felt like the car pushed fine before he did that. I mean, it's a technique you have to learn to do it, and it's like a little, it's like a meter how hard you could push somebody. But the last night, I mean, it didn't change. I mean, Friday night it didn't change. As soon as you touch somebody in the corners, they were just going to whip around, and it just added up. It added a push in the center, like a bad push in the center.
Oh, like, you obviously don't go out and get on somebody's left rear either, because that's where a couple of the wrecks. I mean, there was one with the 70 of Davis Warren that got turned, but the guy was literally on his left rear coming out of turn 2. I mean, you got on the left rear, somebody's going to spin out.
Well, yeah, that's bad. That's bad bump drafting all the way around, but we'll see how it go.
So, but that was Friday night, and then Sunday night, going back to the whole oval refresh, Sim 500 raced at Las Vegas. And that race was fun to watch. Miles was up there in the top 10 throughout the night after starting in his typical average of like 15th or 17th.
I don't know what it is, man. Hey, everybody from 1st to 20th is like 2/10 off of each other.
It's pretty close, yeah.
And that was a wild race.
That race, believe it or not, and this is going to shock you when I say this, had the most cautions that league has seen at that track in 3 years.
That was two cautions or 3?
4. It had 4 cautions.
4?
That was it.
Okay.
It had 5 cautions in 2018, and then it had 3 cautions in 21, and then went 2 straight years without a single yellow until Sunday night, where they had 4 yellows.
I wish you would have went green last night.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people did, but hey, the finish at the end, Mac McMillan and Larry Pace were side by side. I mean, pretty much the whole race, they were fighting for the lead.
Yep.
But in the end, they were literally side by side. They were throwing slide jobs at each other. They were doing everything to just try to get the lead and win that race. And it came down to a almost photo finish. Pace got a little tight, it looked like, and McMillan got loose. They hit, and Pace went for the infield as McMillan won the race. But I mean, both of them were like, man, that was some of the funnest racing we've had in a while. And I mean, you had cars from the bottom all the way to the wall, running whatever groove to try to get the run off the corner.
Yeah, the over refresh is real, man, because Vegas was like the complete opposite of Texas. It was like when we raced at Texas and you asked me, could you run the outside? And I was like, nah, you got to pass on the bottom. Like, Pluff and them ran the outside in the beginning of the run and made it work. But towards the end of the run, the middle of the run, you're not running the outside. You got to run the bottom. And Vegas was completely opposite. You can't run the bottom. You had to stay on the outside. Like, you had to literally run the outside to keep the momentum up. If you was on the bottom, you was a sitting duck. People were just going to go to your outside and pass you. So, and then you see them run side by side, and he's trying his best to pass him. The only way you could pass is doing a slide job. And if you didn't do that, I mean, all you had to do was maintain your speed on the outside with the one on the inside, and he was going to burn his stuff up. But like he said, towards the end of the run, the bottom was the best place to be at because it picked up more grip because everybody was running the outside, and it just lost grip on the outside. It was crazy.
Elder, safe to say they were throwing dirt track bombs. I mean, I thought they were at the dirt track for a little bit, at each other going into the corners and passing, but it was a wild finish there. So congrats to both Larry and Mac and Sim 500, another great race on Sunday night. They're going to get going. Actually, they're actually racing as we record this. They're doing an exhibition at North Wilkesboro to kind of get ready for their clash. They're doing it at North Wilkesboro, not at the Coliseum, which I think is a great idea, because North Wilkesboro and iRacing is fantastic to race at. It literally runs from bottom to the top, so I can only imagine how that race is going over there right now. But they'll run their actual clash event coming up next Monday night, so looking forward to being back on the air about this time. Actually, be another hour or so before we'd be on the air for the broadcast. So it feels like it's 10 o'clock. I look over at 7:30 Eastern. So, all right, that's it for
the last time I threw an asphalt dirt type slider on somebody. I pissed Alphen off, so twice.
Yep.
I've seen you throw plenty of bad sliders at people. Remember, you did race in Short Track Super League, and I broadcasted, and I think it was once a week I saw, whoop, there's a bad slide job. Whoop, there's a bad slide job. Whoop, there's a bad slide job.
It's only bad if you crash.
That's facts.
There's a difference between bad and dirty.
So okay. So what's the difference here?
If I come right across your nose, and as long as I'm clear, it's a dirty slider. Like where I make you have to lift, that's a dirty slider. If I feed you a 7-course dinner of door panel, that would be a bad slider.
Okay. I'll try to remember that.
Notes taken.
Like what track? What track was it? We were at Chicago. Where
I think it was Chicago, bro. Yeah, it was Chicago.
Yeah, there was one of the last GLSI races I did at Chicago. Alphen was coming on the high side. I dove it in turn 1 all the way to the apron, and I came up and I cleared him with approximately 2 inches of space, and he had to lift. And I even over my team chat, I went, yeah, I just pissed Alphen off. Like,
yeah, right when he did it, Alphen was like, come on, Telder, what are you doing? You lucky I don't wreck you or whatever. And then he was like, this dude did it again. And I was like, oh, man.
I did it a second time 2 laps later.
Oh, man.
Telder, it's finest right there.
So, Alphen, I do apologize for those 2 turns.
So, all right, we're going to run through facts or cap because we're going to get into a little discussion, I think, on the second one. And Telder's got the surprise one. You know what, Telder, why don't you go with yours first?
Okay, so we just discussed the ARCA car, Gen 4, same body style, rounded nose, cannot push with it.
Nope. Can't do it.
High horsepower, Gen 4, Daytona, tomorrow night. Facts or cap? I bump draft at least 5 cars tomorrow night.
That's facts.
That's cap.
That's facts.
No, here's why it's cap. He's going to push more.
Oh, you said more. You giving us a number
He said
like less or
5.
more? Nah, it's gonna be more than 5.
I said at least 5.
Oh, at least 5.
Oh,
Okay, then
yeah,
5.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He gonna bump draft,
5.
bro.
I'm like, no, that's cap. He's going more.
I'm telling you, you can bump draft in this car like easily.
You really can. It's just the technique of doing. You
It's
just
the
have to
technique.
drag the brake. You have
Instead
to
of
drag the brake as the push car.
yeah, that and it's not like when I go up to somebody instead of just running them over, you gotta ease into it. And when you make contact, then you can floor it and you can push them to the corner. Then you gotta let off. But I swear, like you can't bump in the corners, but you could push on the back stretch and on the front stretch.
You can push in the corners too. You just use the air bubble to do it.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, the beach ball, if you will. Yeah. I it's not a challenge or anything, so don't think this. But I could see Telder starting somewhere between like 6th and 10th tomorrow night and being the lead by the end of lap 1.
I think he gonna
start around 15th to 20th, and he's gonna be in the top 5 after 3 laps.
All right, so we'll let you know next week how he does with that whole.
I'm not gonna qualify tomorrow night.
Oh, okay. Well, that changes my thinking then.
I'm not gonna qualify tomorrow night, and I'm going to be leading by lap 10.
Lap 10. Okay. I like the way that sounds.
I'm gonna hurt some egos. I'm gonna hurt some egos.
Don't hurt the wrong ones. Don't hurt the wrong ones.
We're gonna push the radiator in a little bit, but we're gonna get to the front.
Put some boards in the front. Oh man. So speaking of well, it's not really a transition here, but the facts or cap I have, the clash shop this week, we have at least 15 cautions this year.
Facts.
And are you talking in like
in the main event
or
the main
just
event.
the main event?
The main event. If we have 15 in the heat races, we got a problem.
How many laps?
Do we have 15 in the LCQ race?
That could be possible.
So we can go with 2 things here: 15 cautions in the LCQ race and 15 cautions in the main event.
I mean, I'm going 15 in the main event, 150 laps to answer your question, Miles.
Yeah, facts.
I think facts for both of them. We get 15 in both.
Oh my god! If we get 15 in the LCQ, that means the main event won't start till past MGK's bedtime.
You want to know why? You know why I say facts for 15 in the LCQ?
Because everybody's in it.
Less cars make the feature. Less cars make the feature.
That is true. It's what, 2 cars?
Yeah, 2 cars.
Wow.
25 car race, 2 cars.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a caution fest.
We'll have to see if they make it lap 1.
I don't know, man. I don't like this type of stuff. Is it? I don't know.
It's scary. Somebody asked me, by the way, side note, somebody asked me, why don't they run at Bowling Gray? I said Bowling Green. Bowman Gray for the race. And the simple answer is this. 1, they don't seat the crowd that LA does. 2, it's in LA. 3, there's not a structure there at Bowman Gray that can put a race on like that anymore. You don't have 70,000, about 20,000 regular people and then 30 to 50,000 drunk college students.
I think the car's too wide too. I think the cars are too big.
Probably, yeah. Because I guess we'd have to see the dimensions of the track compared to Bowman Gray. Wonder if they're the same or
it's wider.
Wider? Okay.
It's way wider.
So there's your answers real quickly. And plus the purse wouldn't be probably that big either, as it is for unless NASCAR threw money in.
I think they should go run at Irwindale.
That would be fan. Kern County, Irwindale. I'm good with any of those.
Yeah, either one of those two. They're perfectly fine short track asphalt racetracks out there that are just sitting there being unused.
The seats for those tracks would be able to fit the amount of people you would expect at a race like that.
Oh yeah. Plus you have all the camping, you have all the other stuff, all that. So
yeah, I agree. Plus you could bring the K&N cars out there and put a show on. Kind of like they're doing the Mexico series. But anyhow, second facts or caps going to lead into a little discussion here. VR is not a great product to use on iRacing.
Facts. Factual statement.
I don't know. I never use a VR. I mean, I heard stories of them being good. I heard stories of them being bad.
So after Tuesday night, how do you feel?
I mean, happy I said that. I don't even know if the VR was really the reason.
That's fair.
Yeah,
But
do we know the VR was really the problem at this point?
We can't prove it, but we can say this. I mean, that is kind of similar to what a VR issue would look like.
Yeah, you can say, okay, well, all right, yeah, facts. Okay, after that point, yeah. I can
Put it
say
like
facts.
this. VR would be the equivalent of you having your monitor turned off right in front of you as you're driving.
Yeah, no.
And no way to turn it back on until like you get a couple settings done. So you have no clue where your car is going. Unlike where, like, if your screen goes black, the wheel kind of turns left or right and stays that way. No, your car is out there on the run.
Oh, okay.
The only
yeah, never
benefit you
mind.
have is you can pick up your headset, and what would be on your VR screen is what's on your monitor in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can, if your VR turns off, you can just hold the headset up and see on the screen what you're doing.
That's true.
Like you just literally like, like somebody go to raise their cap to tip it and just hold their hat over their
You
head.
just better do it really quickly.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that and you can see your whole desktop at that point. Like none of that shuts off. So it's just a mirrored image to your headset.
This is my whole thing. And I've said it to you guys so many times. We are in a sim that we are racing on a racetrack with 5 to 45 to hell, a road race, 85 people, depending on track. I say 85 a little aggressively. I think 65 is the most we can get, but team wise, so you're on track and you've got a headset on. If this headset goes out, you could potentially take out a majority of that field if it's in the wrong spot of the track. If you're running, here we go. Nürburgring 24 is coming up in a few weeks. Miles, you watched me run a Sunday drive at the Nürburgring.
Yep.
Okay? You go through Telder, the first, I call it banked, but that dipping left-hander.
The carousel. It's called a carousel.
Yeah, okay, the carousel. Your VR goes out right there, and you're just starting the race. You think you're not going to take probably at least 10 cars out because they're not going to know what's coming?
Oh, yeah, agreed. But, I mean, you can't, at the same time, you can't just, use that as the primary example because that's no different than if your wheel disconnects.
Yeah.
If your internet disconnects. Because even if your internet disconnects, you're still there for a good 4 or 5 seconds.
If your hardware disconnects, like, I see the wheel or something disconnecting different than VR. Because VR is like, you're trying to use a product because it's supposed to improve your sight and stuff and all these different benefits. Where a wheel, like, I feel that being, I find that as a contrast. Like, if a wheel fails you, crap happens. If VR fails you 99% out of 10, it's because you forgot to charge it, or you didn't play. It just goes out because your screen's having issues, or your dog chews the cord, or whatever. Where the wheel, it's usually because you broke something.
Well, see, but at the same time, you have the higher end wheels like Gomez Sim Industries and Cube Controls and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Those don't run through the wheelbase. Those are direct USB pigtail corded into the computer. They're its own separate piece of equipment.
Interesting.
Oh my!
The more higher end stuff you get, it is like you could have the wheelbase to be its own USB thing, your pedals its own USB thing, your shifter its own USB thing, button boxes if you have them, dashboards if you have them. Mm-hmm. High end sim wheels are just they connect with a quick connect, but they don't even talk to the wheelbase at all. They're its own thing. All of these are obviously require their own software to run.
See, that stuff.
So, you can have 10 different programs running just to run all your equipment and not have a VR headset. At some points, a VR headset is easier to use than some of this other stuff.
I don't have like that. Obviously, I got a G27 wheel from like 7 years ago still that I use, which probably is part of my problem. But
So that might be part of your issue.
I could have told you that, but I don't race much anymore
Ain't
either.
nothing
So
wrong.
it's
Ain't
really,
nothing wrong with them Logitechs now. Don't say
no,
that
they
now.
work. It works.
I
But
won some races with them.
my main point to this whole thing is you can go play American Truck Simulator. You can go play farming simulator like Telder likes to do sometimes, or if you're playing Fortnite or whatever.
DayZ.
VR in those games, I have not a single problem with, because in the end, we're battling against each other. But I feel like if your VR set goes out in Fortnite or something, you have to fix the issue or whatever, you're not really affecting my game as much as you would in iRacing, and it affects your whole entire, almost your night, if you will, if it's a league or if it's a big hosted race on iRacing that iRacing's hosting. You can't go back. You're done at that point. Where in Fortnite, okay, real quick reset or whatever, we start over and go again. Truck Simulator, you just go back to your last save point and start again. Football, Madden, you start wherever, or you just start the game over. iRacing, you wreck, you're out, you're done. All because somebody's headset failed.
Or
Now,
somebody on a remote controller.
Right. Or yeah, somebody's playing on a Wii stick or whatever. That's my point to the VR part. It's like I feel like there's so much more risk using VR and iRacing than any other game.
Okay, so as somebody that has used a VR headset for iRacing specifically, it was the only reason I bought it. I understand after using it why so many people do go that route.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have triple 27-inch monitors. It gives me pretty much 180-degree wraparound while I'm sitting in my sim rig. You can see with a headset on, even though it's only like 120-degree field of view, or not even, it is, you can see around, especially road racing, you can see around corners way more. You see the apexes of corners better. Where you might have a blind spot with your monitors, even though it has 180-degree field of view around you, you lose people off your left and rear quarters between where you can see out your monitor and where the mirror picks them up. With a VR headset, you can turn your head back and see them that they're there. It has a better pickup of sound too, it seemed like, especially with like depending on the headphones you were using, because when you moved your head, the sound traveled with it.
So
there is I did notice multiple benefits of using the VR headset.
I understand. Yeah, go ahead.
Lower resolution. It was you had to run graphic settings way lower to get a steady frame rate, which, because like if a VR headset drops 30 frames, you're throwing up. And a monitor, it can drop 50 frames and you're just like, oh, it's lagging. No. On a VR headset, if it drops 30 frames, you're gonna throw up. So
that, and I get all of that. I totally understand why people do it. I understand, the benefits of it, the racing, like you said, people like to do it, and that's their choice. And I don't judge off of it. I mean, I just don't agree with it. I guess would be the right way to put it. I just don't agree with VR being on iRacing. And I use the example of, how many pro drivers do you see use it? But somebody brought up a good point too in that chat, that when I brought it up, I forget which chat I brought it up. It might have been GLSR. But somebody made the comment back of, well, the main reason you don't see the pros doing it is because so people can see their faces when they're broadcasted. Which
I think there's a rule against
fair
it,
point.
actually. I think there's a rule against it, actually.
Which would almost, I don't want to say validate my point, but
well, it is exactly for the point that you were talking about. Because if it dies, you can kill a bunch of people. I think I read somewhere that there is a rule that you cannot run VR in the Pro Series for that specific reason. For technical reasons.
Again, if we're going to use the pros, for example, there's a reason. But that's just my opinion. I trust me, I don't mind discussing it with people, and it's a respectful discussion. I don't have any issues with people using it. It's their choice. I just don't agree with it. And thankfully, I've not been taken out yet by VR. That might be an interesting rage if that happens. Just
I have.
Guess you have, haven't you?
Yep.
Oh, we don't know what you were really actually taking
That's
out
true,
by,
too,
well.
again.
hey,
That's
Scala, I just thought of another one.
Uh-oh.
Facts or cap? Miles was actually taken out by a VR headset problem.
Cap.
I want to say cap.
I'm not going to answer because I don't know.
I honestly don't know the answer.
The spirit in my bones tell me cap, so I'm going with my first mindset, bro. It was just the luck. It's just like everything had to align like the stars, bro. Cause he let 2 cars go by him before he dropped down like this.
There's actually 3.
Well, 3 cars. So you it's like you was in the corner, and then all of a sudden you pull off, even if you couldn't feel none of your wheel or something. Like right then you pull off right when I have no opportunity to go left or right. I just have to go straight underneath you. It's crazy.
Miles, you hit that guy.
Yeah, I know. I don't like that, man. I feel bad.
Telder.
Shouldn't have been standing there.
I'm just saying. All right. So obviously Casey Carrington is going to join us here. Well, he's with me as we did this interview actually during the 24. You're actually going to hear us reference that we're doing this during the race. But we talk about the All-American Cup Series, which is, by the way, presented by Harpoon Designs, which is Brantley is a very popular painter. He does like over 2,000 paints on iRacing. If you run a Joe Gibbs paint on any of your cars, you probably have a Harpoon Designs paint scheme on your car. So congratulations to them on getting that sponsor. But let's talk to Casey about the All-American Cup Series and preview season number 7. All right, being joined by Casey Carrington, the owner, founder, driver, and just overall guy that runs the show for All-American and their Cup Series as it kicks off Friday night at Daytona, the Daytona 200. Of course, their series this season sponsored by a very interesting guy that does a lot of paint schemes that you can see on Trading Paints. And that was one of your big announcements, Case, is you get to bring on a pretty cool sponsor for the Cup Series this season.
Yeah, it's always good to have sponsorship, and it's, really cool when it comes from somebody that's been, kind of vaguely part of the league for a while now, obviously spotting for Mark Whitley. But yeah, Brantley, I mean, he's probably one of the, if not the most prominent painter in kind of the iRacing community. I mean, I'd gotten paintwork done from him, probably a year or two, or year and a half before he even became involved in All-American. So having him on board's awesome. Like I said, it's always good to have a sponsor. It just helps. If we run All-American out of pocket, we don't make any money off of it. I mean, I operate the league at a loss, even with the sponsorship. So it's always nice to have those guys on board. And it's, one of those kind of endorsement things where somebody willing to spend the money to, pretty much advertise themselves through the league and to help out the league. I mean, that's at the end of the day mainly what it's for. But I mean, that's just kind of another sign that you're kind of going in the right direction and you're doing things right, that people, I mean, it's the ultimate endorsement, really.
And of course, Brantley being with Harpoon Design, his company has like, is it 200 or 2,000? I can't remember the number. I think it's like 2,000.
In Whitley's pre-written interviews, it says over 2,000 paint schemes. So we'll assume at this point after the offseason, it's probably over 3,000 now. So
look, if you're running a Joe Gibbs paint scheme in iRacing, you're likely running one of Brantley's paint schemes, because I know he does work with them, and then obviously does all the paint schemes and stuff. So shout out to him for coming on to the series. But Friday night we kicked off the opener in what was kind of expected, a Busch Clash type event. You guys call it the preseason Thunder. And I say Busch Clash because it looked a lot like the clashes at Daytona those last couple of years. We had pileups and wrecks, and we had some good racing, though. And you did some experimenting also with the package. That's like the drinking word in super speedway racing. But it turned, I think people had fun last night or Friday night, but obviously a wild race in the end.
Yeah, I mean, that package change came about in like the last possible minute. I mean, it was literally maybe 30 minutes or so before the main practice opened. I just had an idea. I'd had the idea back in November last season, and then just kind of shelved it because honestly I didn't think it would work. And we get in there, and I'm like, hey man, let's try this out. I messaged some people on Discords like, hey, let's hop in here and see if I can work this stuff out to maybe line the bumpers up. And yeah, it worked pretty well. I mean, honestly, like I said, I didn't think it would work at all, and for it to to work as well as it did was a shocker to me. Yeah, it looked a little gimmicky and all that. Reminded me of the 99 500 when they would squat the rear end with the soft springs, but that's something we're going to work on here, this week, getting ready for the race Friday night to kind of find where the limit is of being able to get it as West Carolina squat looking as possible while still having the bumpers, have at least some wiggle room to where you can push and not instantly wreck the whole field.
Seemed like the one thing I caught out of it last night, and you kind of talked about it when you were qualifying, is how you lost speed down the straightaways because the nose was so far in the air. And the other thing I caught was the drivers in chat talking about how it seemed like they were able to gain a lot more speed and a lot more momentum out of the car. And I think a lot of that had to do with the increased drag, probably of the nose being in the air. Of course, you got the wicker bill up top. But it sounded like from what people were saying, the runs they were able to get were even bigger than the regular car being at a level playing field, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we were in a single car run, maybe 3, 4, 5 miles an hour down on the regular setup. But in the draft, we were running the same speeds as the regular setup. So that just shows, how much, they talk about, kind of pulling a parachute behind you when you're carrying a lot of drag. But I guess in this case, it's kind of like walking forward with an umbrella stuck out. And, but yeah, just one of those things. And the drafting effect and all of that wasn't really the intention. I just wanted the main way with a preseason race, just test to see if we could get the bumpers lined up, not thinking that it would really work. And it worked a lot better than I thought. Of course, there was a couple wrecks, but I mean, you had that in any car, whether you can bump draft in it or not. So I'd say it was a success. Like I said, it looked a little hokey on the broadcast, and I know some people were a little miffed at changing the setup altogether. But I mean, hey, we're now going into the 7th season, and that's the first time we've ever messed with that kind of stuff. So I consider it a success. It can be improved. It can be worked on. Something I realized after the race Friday night was that the gearing wasn't changed. So that's probably one of the reasons why we were so slow down the straightaway. So we definitely, at least one tweak we'll have for the 200 Friday night will be a shortened gear, just keep the engine wound up a little more than we had in the shootout.
Well, the one thing, and that's the perfect race to do that, is the shootout. I mean, it didn't count for anything other than pride. So, I mean, do it in that race, do it in an all-star race. I mean, remember 01, I talked about it last Friday night in that race. Jeff Gordon, bring all the backup cars out after they wrecked in a monsoon. So, so race 1 coming up here Friday night, though. I'm looking at your schedule, and kind of has that nostalgic look, which I know is kind of how you run your league. You like to kind of focus on an old Cup series from, the early 2000s or mid 2000s and that kind of thing. And you have Daytona. You go to Auto Club right after that, where usually Greg Biffle won that race. And then you had Las Vegas, and then you bring Rockingham on. And the one thing that kind of catches my eye this year, and I know why you're doing it, but I think it'd be best if you explain to those who might not know, a lot of your races, especially early season, I mean, all the way up to heck after Easter, are all daytime races.
Yeah, when the new update came out back, I guess it was about a month and a half ago, the oval refresh, we noticed that and I don't know how to describe this, I'm not an engineer, but like in the high grip situations, like when you've got low track temperature, which of course at nighttime the temperature is going to be lower, and in those the grip was really increased, like kind of the grip ceiling, if you will, was raised a lot, whereas the floor is about where it used to be. Like when you get out there in those kind of the Sim 500 temperatures where it's like 130 or whatever, it's about the same as it's always been. But as the temperatures drop, the grip just increases more than we've ever seen. So not knowing whether that's going to stick around by the time we get to the new build in March, I figured, hey, let's go ahead and kind of, really, really dial in on the hot slick tracks early in the season. And then once they've come out with the new build and kind of tweaked on this new oval refresh a little more, and maybe gotten it a little more dynamic, especially in the not low grip, but low temperature situations, it'll provide for better racing. So, and of course, anybody that knows me knows that I cannot stand night lighting and iRacing with the way it is. So, I wouldn't necessarily want to run every race at noon, but I'm not going to be crying over 1 or 2 fewer night races compared to last year.
It's like the old format that I see you've kind of done it here. You've got Daytona, you got California, Vegas, you got Rockingham, Bristol, all starting, and even Texas at 1:00 sim time. Which, when you think back to the old days of NASCAR, it was like, as they said, people went to church, you got lunch, and you were home for the Cup race. That started at usually 1:15. It got the green flag and went green. So it's kind of got that nostalgic feel to it. But now I'm curious to see, obviously, I'm still learning the oval refresh like you are. I've already seen, Gen 4's at Auto Club. I thought that put on a good show. I think Rockingham is going to be awesome. I'm curious about Bristol to see if a bottom lean comes into play now with this refresh, depending on the gearing, depending on the speed, and that kind of thing. So there's a couple of tracks here that I think is really going to test it quickly.
Yeah, this past week, the official Gen 4 series was at Bristol, and it was really interesting because it was daytime as well, like we're going to be running.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people when they run Bristol, they run it at night because obviously the night race is such a big deal. And
Yeah.
But my thought is, hey, you increase that track temp, like I said, you decrease the grip, and all of a sudden you're going to get, something a little different than you might get at night when there's so much grip, you can just rip the top the whole night. So, yeah, I mean, in that official series, it was pretty much, if you wanted to be fast in the long run, you kind of ran the bottom. But hey, if you wanted to get up in that passing lane and drive around people and feel like Kyle Larson for about 15, 20 laps, that high line was there. It was definitely faster. And then, of course, once you get 100 laps into a run or whatever, the top's the fastest lane anyway.
Right.
So it's just very dynamic, very surprising. You would think with a track like Bristol with the progressive banking and all that it would just be a top feeding track like some of the tracks used to be. But yeah, Bristol was a track that I'd sworn off of the schedule for so many seasons, and then I was like, hey man, eventually this league is going to be no more, and I don't want to say that we never ran Bristol. So,
Right.
So we're going to give it a shot here, and I think if people were patient and really think long term, I mean you've done plenty of Bristol 500s on iRacing. I know it's like one of your specialties.
Love it.
And you know how that mentality is. It's almost like an endurance race. You just want to be there at the end. Who cares who's leading lap 27? I want to lead lap 127. So that's the mentality that's required, and hopefully that we'll see come March, whenever it is. I don't even remember. You probably know the schedule better than I do.
Well, I'm learning it. March 1st is when that race is. But the one thing I look at Bristol, it's because it's funny. Other leagues I've had this discussion too, because you'll get owners, and I'm guilty of it myself when I ran a league, of like, okay, Bristol, it's going to be a bad race. It's going to be terrible. You get that negative mindset in your head immediately. But you have to almost take a step back and realize Bristol is its own thing. It's going to have good racing. It's going to have drama. It's going to have wrecks. You're going to have cautions. If you go in with a mindset of it's going to be a complete crap show, then you're never going to enjoy it. If you go in with the mindset of, okay, look, I know what's coming, but that's Bristol. We're still going to have a good show no matter what. You're going to go into Discord later on at night and people are going to be pissed off. You're going to have people that, man, I cannot wait. This track's my favorite, that kind of thing. And you're going to see good racing. You might even get a side-by-side finish. If you go in with that mindset, it's going to be a good race come March 1st. So I'm looking forward to it, especially on the broadcast side. I won't get wrecked. So, we think. So
yeah, those Gen 4 cars can fly, man. You might ought to bring a helmet up there.
Well, no, I'm more worried about watching be the night where like my internet gets kicked out or something in the middle of the race. Like, trouble turn 2 mid-race.
About going into it with a bad mindset. Come on now.
Sure, good point. All right, touche. All right, so you get that with Easter. You go to Charlotte, Road Atlanta, Talladega, Iowa, which will be a night race. It's one of the 2 night races, Charlotte and Iowa, and then Dover and Atlanta, the old Atlanta, to finish out the schedule. I think Atlanta, that might be the perfect race to have a potential championship battle. I mean, obviously, we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, a lot of expectation that Whitley will maybe dominate again this season, but you had Heller last season had a little bit of a struggle, and he started to pick it up at the end of the year. You had Zach Henry that looked good. Of course, Casey, you were right there at the end. Unfortunately, had a couple of rough little races towards the end of the schedule to kind of hurt things at the end. But, Stephen Miles has been getting better. Matthew Weeks had a little bit of a struggle. He's getting more and more better. I think you're going to have a very competitive top 10 drivers that could compete and could have something in Atlanta come May.
Yeah, I mean, I look back to season 5 and pretty much, especially once the Gen 4 car came out, that's pretty much what it was. It was that kind of early 2000s NASCAR where any given week you'd have 10 to 12 guys show up and they could win and you wouldn't be surprised. I mean, of course, there's always going to be those couple. It's always going to have that F1 effect when you're doing fixed setup, especially where there's going to be those guys that are just better and they're going to get better results as time goes on. But I mean, yeah, like you pretty much named all the guys. I mean, I look to see Stephen Miles get a win here at some point this season. I mean, it seems like there's always going to be that one guy in All-American that just runs well, runs up front, has plenty of chances to win, and it never happens. It was me and Zach Rogers in the early season. Zach finally got his win, I think, in season 3. I kind of walked into my win in season 4, and then Miles has kind of taken that role for the last couple of seasons. So I think he'll probably get one. Hey, he almost got one Friday night. No, we're totally not recording this on a Saturday night. Nope.
Not at all. At
no,
like 12:30.
Yeah, the Rolex, that was a couple days ago, wasn't it?
Right, something like that.
But yeah, I mean, Whitley's going to do well. But I mean, as we've seen, and you're probably going to get to at some point, that Champion's Curse, man, is a killer. I mean,
Yeah.
You go back.
Before me, probably.
Yeah, Rogers won season 3, struggled in season 4, relatively. Was Matthew champion in season 4, struggled in season 5.
Mm-hmm.
Heller season 5 champion, kind of struggled in season 6. I mean, I wouldn't say he struggled. He just didn't.
He had a rough start, and he got better.
He taking a step back. Like we've never really, in the kind of the modern era of the league, seen a guy just kill it back-to-back seasons. It's just always, it's always that kind of, king of the mountain thing. You're up there for a minute, you get your 15 minutes, and you get knocked off by the next guy. So I'm interested to see how it's going to be. I'm looking to hopefully get another win or two myself and be in contention for a couple more.
Oh, 2-tire Carrington. We'll see if it works out. But
I've almost retired that strategy at this point. I'm tired of being on old tires, getting blown by.
Hey, so as they say, if you win by the 2 tires, you're gonna lose by the 2 tires, right?
Yep.
So, obviously, any kind of rule changes and stuff this season that we need to be aware about?
Not really. That's one of the kind of nice things as an admin about getting so deep into the league's history is we've pretty much figured out the way things should be. We're going back to the full unlimited 43 car fields just because the racing's cleaned up enough, and I think we've got a high enough standard in the league nowadays. Yeah, I know, Friday night, but I mean, at most tracks, it's cleaned up enough. Trust me, Skala, you were not here the first couple seasons when
I'm sure
we averaged like 9 cautions a race.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had 10 cautions in a Charlotte race once, but yeah, it's just one of those things where I don't want to turn somebody away just because they were the 37th fastest guy out of 45 that showed up. So we've gone back to the full unlimited fields like that, and there's a spot for every pit stall essentially is kind of my mindset. But other than that, not a whole lot of rule changes. I mean, like I said, we kind of nailed things in last year, especially with the new car coming out, still with 85% fuel, still the limited tire sets, kind of going back to running a lot more of the, ironically with the discussion we had at the start about the custom setup, going back to more of running just a baseline iRacing setups. I think they're pretty good. And with the oval refresh, once again, everything's less static and all that. So, yeah, not a whole lot of rule changes.
You gonna be able to break your record? Do you think Friday night, 48.174 at Daytona, qualifying?
Well, with this setup we're running, probably not. I might have to put the qualifying tape on for the Q setup, but then people will be complaining that it feels different. So,
I was gonna say the ARCA record might be safe with that setup, but
yeah.
no. So, obviously, a lot of hype getting ready. I know people are excited. We're seeing it in chat and that kind of thing. So, I'm looking forward to the season as we get there here starting Friday night. But no, it shows all the hard work. And I know you're one person. I'm going to open the curtain here for a second. You're one person that I don't want to use the word perfection, but pretty close to it. Like you want to see things work in a certain pattern. And I think that shows the hard work that you put into it and all your partners there put into it and that kind of thing. So obviously I'm looking forward to it and I know you are. So let's have some fun Friday night.
Yeah, man, it's going to be awesome.
Now we're going to have some fun here too, by the way. You challenged me. You said to me earlier this week when we were talking about when we're going to meet up at 12:30 Saturday night after the Royal Rumble and stuff. And, we were just having fun watching it. Well, it looks like the rain so again, it's 12:30 Saturday night, in case you didn't know. I'm looking at the radar. It looks like the rain missed the north side of Daytona. So,
surprise.
Yeah, there you go. So the, trying to think,
there's a big, I'm
trying to remember what that big, of course, growing up down there, I should know this. There's a big like flea market type place, I believe, right to the north there of the track. Probably getting monsooned right now while the track's getting nothing. But anyways, the you suggested you would like some trivia that
let's see how well I know my own.
I want to see how well you know your league. And I asked you a question jokingly, and I'm like, he's going to know this one, but it was more to irritate you. This time, though, I've got some questions that you're going to have to go kind of deep to figure this one out.
I'm not even gonna Google, or well, can't Google, but I'm not gonna Sim Racer Hub it.
That's where they all came from. So
and shout out to Quentin and everything he does at Sim Racer Hub. They released a new big update, I think today or yesterday.
Good update too. I like it.
Yeah, I mean it's probably he said himself the biggest changes they made since they took over the site, and that's just an amazing service. I want to give them a shout out.
Yeah, no kidding.
All American and pretty much any other weekend iRacing wouldn't really be worth doing if it weren't for the stuff that Sim Racer Hub does, and of course it was Dan and Lisa before that for the old school guys like you, but. They that's just such an awesome service. I was a big fan of Score 4 back in the day on NASCAR 2003. I'll do my like offline career modes and all that, and I'd spend more time looking at the stats pages and all that than I would doing the actual races. So Sim Racer Hub's kind of the modern day iRacing equivalent of that, and I've probably got more hours on that site than Quentin himself does.
Yeah, I mean I do too. I mean I look on there and get everything, but let's have some fun here. So all right, 3 questions for you. Obviously, you get 10 points per question, and of course, the points don't matter, much like last night's race. Congratulations, Cam Ingram. Question 1.
Finish.
It was a good finish, actually. In the end, you wrecked. Lewis got you.
Close your eyes after they cross the line.
Yeah, right. All right. So all this is per Sim Racer Hub. So this is all of the numbers. So if there's something that's inaccurate, you can blame again Clinton, who we just shout out.
That would be ultimate knowing my league, not only knowing the answer, but also knowing that it's not accurate.
Yeah, right. All right. So out of the drivers who have started at least 50 races, what driver has the best average finish in league history?
Matthew Weeks.
That's close. He was second, actually.
Man.
Christopher Heller right now has that average.
I wasn't sure if he had 50 starts because he took a couple seasons off.
Right. Yeah. No, I actually, and of course, now I got to go back and get you this real quickly. It was Weeks has. I just clicked on average finish. Right. I want to make sure I clicked on the right thing. So Matthew Weeks has 64 starts, 65 races with the provisionals and stuff like that. He is an average finish of 9.6. Heller's at 9.27 in 52 starts.
Yeah, so that's like, I don't even know the math on that, how different that is. Like that's like 2 positions and like 3 races.
It's not much. Yeah, it's not much. All right, question 2. At Auto Club Speedway, in race number 2, you have an opportunity to be the first driver to accomplish this feat.
I do?
Yes.
Oh, man.
I'll give you a hint.
Is it 10,000 laps?
Similar. I was going 16,000 miles completed
close enough
in the league. Yeah. So you're at 15. Where did I see it earlier? Let's see. Miles completed. You're at 15,694.4.
Yeah, let's not talk about who's second and all that, like how big the gap is between me and second.
It's not big of a gap. It's only 1,215 miles with Craig Martin.
Half the country, Skala. That's probably less than the distance between me and Craig Martin up in Canada.
Yeah, it's only like half the races on your schedule, though.
Yeah.
In 3 more starts, so that's more of a detriment of how many laps Martin's finished.
Man, I don't know my league very well, evidently.
Well, I, again, made this very tough on purpose.
Yeah.
This last one, you might not know this last one either. This one's a tough one, and I didn't even put the answer down, but I know it. With 20 or more starts, Stephen Miles and Zach Henry are the only 2 drivers with this stat.
Oh, man. I'm going to need a hint here.
Okay, it has to do with wrecking.
With less than 1 incident per race?
Close, less than 2 incidents per race. And this is Zach has made 22 starts now and has a 1.32 incidents per race average. Miles 1.78 in 27 starts.
Yeah, those are about 2 of the cleanest guys you can find.
No kidding, right? I saw that. I was like, wow. Everybody else is over 2. I mean, you got your next closest with over 20 would be Eckert, which of course beginning of time. Tate Lytle is up there at 2.6. That's only 11 starts though. Who would be your next person with over 20? Zach Rogers, 2.75.
Yeah, it's almost an incident per race higher than those 2 guys.
So I mean, and when you look at the logic of that, even it's like less than 1 inch. It's less than 0.01. It is actually 0.01 per race, both of them.
Yeah, I mean that's like Tony Gwynn putting the ball in play level efficiency.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean that's just. Yeah. Zach's he's something, man. I mean Miles too, but I mean Zach is just him and Whitley are about the only 2 guys in this league that like when I'm out on track they scare me in the sense of like
right
knowing that I can put together the perfect race and still not beat those guys.
I'll throw a little bonus. This is more of a stat for you. If anybody's ever looking to see like who the best guys in the league are, and most people have access to the Sim Racer Hub. All you do is look up the league and stuff like that. But here, let's put it like this: going through modern drivers right now in this series, you have Mark Whitley, who has a 114 rating. You have Zach Henry, a 110.44. You have Matthew Weeks, 104.53. I was looking at somebody else. The Finley's on that list, believe it or not, with a 100.5 if he ever showed back up. Heller, 100.47. Rogers, 97.84. And then you're at 96.53. Some of the best ratings that in the league. So, currently.
You
want me to go to the other side?
that's modern era. Hey, that's like the dead ball era of All-American.
No, I was more talking about like the other side of the numbers.
Oh, well, speaking of dead ball era, yeah, that's.
Let's see who has.
I
won't mention that. I won't mention that names.
Refrigerator repairman and all that. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I won't mention names.
Of All-American.
There's some bad ratings. There's like 60s on here. Oh man, I'm trying to see like the worst modern guy right now, just without saying names.
Well, I think we probably know who that is, but let's not say names.
Oh wow, no, you'd actually be shocked. And I'm talking about more like this guy's got more than 70 starts. But anyways, all right, we'll go from there. Hey man,
I would not be shocked because I know who that must be.
You'd be surprised.
One or two people.
It's not Craig.
I didn't say it was Craig. Come on, man.
I'm just putting it out there. It's not Craig.
I know he's going to listen to this.
Yeah. Hi, Craig. Well, Craig's already listening. He's the one recording me.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Craig.
So, no, man, in all seriousness, appreciate you coming on. Obviously, we're going to have some fun next 14 weeks with a couple bye weeks in the middle. And looking forward to season number 7, man. Season 3 with me.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much at some point during this season, you'll cross over as having been the broadcaster for the majority of the All-American races, and you've been such a great partner, man. I mean, it's so nice to have a broadcaster, and I know I'll speak for the other league owners that you broadcast, to have somebody that's so. I mean, hell, you're running a podcast about the leagues you broadcast. You know what I mean? It's to have somebody that's you get as into it as pretty much you do the real racing, whether you admit it or not, because I know it's true. I mean, to sit here and come up with these stats and all that, it's nice, especially as a league owner, to know that there's somebody else that cares about the league as much as I do for All-American, or it'd be Joey for Sim 500, or Chris for TI. I mean, it's just you do a great job, and I really don't think there's a better broadcaster. When you talk about like 5-tool players in sports, you're kind of like the 5-tool broadcaster, and so always happy to come on here, come on to the Skala cast, and yeah.
I appreciate that, man.
That's
everybody. Cool. And a big shout out to Casey Carrington for being on the show. We're actually going to try to get Joey Jatina to join us, the three of us. I think that'd be a fun little interview for Sim 500, their preview of their Daytona 500K, where one driver in their series is actually going to run for a 4th straight win in that race. You guys imagine winning at Daytona 3 straight years?
I couldn't.
Nope.
I bet it's a good feeling, though.
So, well,
that's a real good feeling.
So, we'll talk about that. But, Telder, you had a little something you thought about while we were sitting there talking and stuff.
So, I kind of tossed around the idea a little bit in the previous weeks leading up to the NASCAR season starting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an avid listener of Door Bumper Clear.
Right. Good show.
And their exceptional podcast. I love that they do their picks.
I
was thinking, I'm saucing up the idea of like, do we just do picks? Do we put something on it? Like, do we wager something? You know, it's a 37 week.
Oh
37
man,
week,
where's Al Pacino when we need him?
Yeah, but here's the thing with that is how they do it is they do 26 races. They pick one driver, and you can't pick that driver the rest of the 26.
Yep, I was going to go.
And then you get to the last 10, you reset and you pick the same drivers or whatever.
Yep, I was going to go with the same format they had. Is
okay.
what I like it.
I like it. Somebody going to keep track on paper?
Yep, I will keep track of all of it. I will take it upon myself. I will have a spreadsheet with all of that posted.
He will go all out on this, by the way, and he's still not done with his Twitch channel, by the way.
No. I was gonna make you edit it and give an F to you, but not only did my Twitch channel finally get finished, which I told you it was gonna be worth it at the end, it took me 4 days to get affiliate.
Well, I mean, you also streamed all of 48 times 24?
I streamed for like total. I think I have like 33 hours streamed.
96
and I
hours
made
straight?
No, I made affiliate in 33 and a half hours.
How many dummy accounts do we have?
None.
Proof?
One. My girlfriend. I made my girlfriend account. I made my girlfriend account, but now it doesn't even matter at that point because
Congratulations,
there wasn't any watch time there. It was just for the follow. But now since I made affiliate, I've got like 13 more since then.
That's awesome.
In the last 2 days.
Good for you.
So
yeah,
those of you that have followed, I appreciate all of you.
Hey chat. Hey
chat.
All right. I'm in for it. Maybe we ought to do something where we have viewers who watch the pod. Maybe I don't know how we'd have to do it. We'd have to find a way to do it where we get them maybe a vote for a certain driver. Maybe we put if many driver. Wow, I can't talk. If many people vote for one driver, maybe we put that driver as like the fans vote or something.
Yeah, the issue is you're going to run into is like, yeah, that would be a lot more work than I think it would be warrant the reward on it.
You guys realize I've won so many of these little contests like this.
$20. How about $20 from everybody?
I ain't got no money.
You got 37 weeks to come up with $20.
I'll talk to my daughter.
All right,
my financial advisor.
Gentlemen's bet of $10.
We'll figure it out. We'll do 20. You said 20. We'll do 20. The captain does not not a fan of gambling, so please don't do it or do it responsibly.
That's why I didn't want to go like something crazy. I figured $20 in 37 weeks. Like,
I don't know what you're talking about. We go big and go home.
There's a reason why Casey's doing all the reads, by the way, and not me, because as you see, I can't even do an ad lib right now. I guess I'm just that tired. But anyways, 90 didn't work today.
So, all right. LA, then with that said, LA Clash this week. I will volunteer to go last.
Now, does this count against or can we vote for anybody and it still starts over for Daytona?
Yes, I will for the Clash because it's
preseason.
Not everyone makes the race. Yeah, preseason, not everybody makes the race. It is an open slate.
All right.
Oh, if I pick this one driver, it's gonna hold me for about 27 weeks.
No, you get them back next week.
This is a free week. This is a free week to choose whoever you want because not every driver makes this race.
We'll let the champ
because it's an exhibition, non-season standing race. Everyone can just say free pick this week.
I'm going with the first name that came to my head.
Go.
Kyle Busch.
Dang it! He took my pick. He took my pick. That's the first name that came to my head. Oh man. Dang it. I'm gonna go Logano.
Yeah, two-time winner of the event. Okay.
I am going to go Josh Berry.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I knew he was gonna pick that. He liked that. I know that.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and to use my free pick and take Josh Berry.
It's a heck of a free pick. A little bit. That's a reach. That's definitely a reach. Or will it be because it's a short track? So I think it's gonna be interesting. But that's 8:00 Saturday or Sunday night if it doesn't rain on Fox. Obviously the heat races are a little earlier in the day. I think it's part of the pre-race show and stuff like that. So just sit back Sunday and enjoy it. I'll be calling a race, but I'll have it. I don't have cable, so I'll figure out a way to watch it. I usually can just pull it up on YouTube. You'd like the day after or something like that. So should be fun.
Fun fact: Kevin Harvick didn't even like that race and finished 12th last year in an underperforming car that wasn't finished.
That should tell you something right there. You know the Stuart Haas car's new logo and everything going to show up, so should be fun. But let's see. Next week we got Telder. You've got your 2 races, right? Monday and Wednesday. You're about to go race here any minute or in an hour or so.
I'm actually withdrawing from the rest of that because I am going to join Stefan and the Moneymakers boys and go run MLR for a full NASCAR season starting next Monday.
Well, there you go.
That's good.
That'd be fun. So.
Yep. Then I have the Wednesday night modifieds and Thursday night late models.
How long are those races on Monday night?
Half distance.
You mean to tell me Stefan's going to run a half distance race?
That's the running joke that we have going on over there right now.
For those Michael Stefan, great guy, but that dude wouldn't run 50 laps at Daytona.
Yeah, I don't know how he's going to run 167 at Chicago, but we're going to. I think it's his attempt. It's attempt to his one of the only nights a week he can actually get on and run. And obviously, none of us have ran together in quite some time, so it's like getting the band back together type deal.
Reminds me of the one time he was leading a league race at I forget which one it was. He was leading a league race at Daytona, and I think it was Telder or somebody told me like during the race he was like screaming his lungs out, like "Why am I up here? Why am I up here?" or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that was the race that me and Fontaine pushed him to the lead at Daytona. And he's like, I don't know what to do. And me and Fontaine are screaming at him to just hold the wheel as straight as possible. And like, we pushed him. He's like, God, they're too wide up here. They're too wide up here. And Fontaine just yells, well, make it 3 then.
Oh, I gotta get stepped on here one day.
We pushed him around the high side at Daytona.
A
dude that had never raced a plate race before on his 7th lap of that race. Yeah, he was not happy with us after the race.
Don't let off the gas.
He ended up being the lap leader of that race.
He was. I do remember that. Yeah, good call. So that's Telder's fun, and then of course we got all the fun stuff. Let's see. We
got TI tomorrow night.
Tuesday night, Wednesday night, nothing because GLSR is done now until March.
We got Sammy. Isn't Sammy running?
Sam's doing his thing, but I'm not. Yeah,
silly season. Yeah,
I'm not going to be there. Yeah.
So
I'm taking the couple Wednesdays off while I have time here. Thursday back at TI will be at Auto Club. Friday night Daytona for the All American. Saturday, nothing. Sunday, will be the 500 at Phoenix, the old Phoenix.
Yeah.
Outside of league racing, other iRacing, any of you guys interested in any officials this week?
I am. After surviving the Nürburgring this week, 1-1, by the way, I lost the second race only because I just got a little too aggressive with going too fast on a track I don't know. I saw that the VR or the is it VRS? Yeah, the Sprinted or whatever. They are at Alton Park, which is the other track that I have tried to race and never succeeded. Granted, that was in a Indy car. GT3s are a little bit slower. So you know what? I'm going to try Alton Park this week. IMSA's at Sebring.
Also, I feel bad now. Back to the whole what I have leagues going this week. I have VOR on Saturday. I did not want to leave Julian's
you're going to run that?
Out of there. I've been running VOR.
I haven't seen any results. That might say something.
Uh-oh.
I got killed running third by a lap car this week. I was running third. Me and Craig Forsyth, who's my teammate in there. We went off strategy of everybody else.
Oh. You know what this week is? The bet.
What bet?
The deal with Clark.
Oh.
We all have to run the Formula One at Spa.
Okay, so there's our official task for one of our official tasks for the week. The Formula One car it is at Spa right now.
Oh boy.
I'm planning on doing a bunch of IMSA this week. They are racing at Sebring. Me and Dean are planning to do the 6-hour race this weekend.
Didn't you have a third name?
Miles hasn't answered us.
Nah, I race every day. I can't, bro. I gotta.
When is this race? If I have to, I'll join you.
When is this race?
I'm not sure what actual day it is.
But it's like Friday and Saturday. And
I think it's Friday. I think it's Friday.
And I got All American Friday night, and I got OP Saturday night. I race every day, but Wednesdays.
This is true.
GLSR. And then when once I seen the track. A military base with nothing but just like airplane hangars and all this weird stuff, bro. I'm like, no, I can't even learn that track fast enough. But Dean, I look over there right now. Dean is practicing right now in the caddy right now.
Did you try Sunset Bend?
He is kicking my ass right now. I ran some laps earlier in the GTP, and Dean is 2 seconds a lap faster than I am, and I'm struggling to even make a clean lap together.
Did you try Sunset Bend yet there, Miles?
What'd you say?
Did you try Sunset Bend, which is the last corner on the track?
No, I didn't even.
He don't even own the track. He don't even own it.
Yeah, once I seen Dean running, I'm like, I'm not buying this track. I'm not even finna run this track.
That's awesome.
Ooh, I am looking at the iRacing official page right now.
I am too. IndyCars at Texas.
That was not where I was going. That is a great combo, though. However, the combo I stumbled upon this week as my, this should be another segment too of the, this is too dumb, but I kind of want to try it. Race of the week.
Oh, we could find plenty of those.
The 87 cars. So you already know they're going to be, for those of you that don't know, the 1987 car, they have a replica in 1987. There's 4 of them now, or is there 5 of them?
4 of them. There's what? Buick, Pontiac, Ford, Chevy.
Yeah, they don't have restrictor plates. They don't stop.
Nope.
They don't turn.
Nope.
This is your
mom's
1984 Crown Victoria. They do fly. This is they have blowover now too. They introduce that, but these things handle like your mom's minivan on the Nürburgring. It's not going to work, right? No matter where you put them.
Yeah.
They are at the Motegi Oval this
week. My God.
No way. I'm definitely not doing that.
Dude, you're going to have to brake for turn 3 in like the middle of the backstretch.
Yeah, those of you that don't know what that track is, look it up on YouTube or something like that.
It's a flat
Mobility
Darlington.
Resort Motegi, yeah. It has a big corner and a small corner, a lot of brake and a lot of flat surface to race on.
Is there e-brakes in that car?
There should be at this point.
You might as well just Chastain that thing a couple of laps.
Pretty much. Oh, man. Yeah, there's some interesting I like that one. There's some interesting ones here, though. I see there was one I just saw a second ago that just caught my eye. Willow Springs has the GR Butt Kicker Cup and the GR 86. Exactly.
The C-Class Indy cars are at Las Vegas this week.
Ooh, that'd be fun. IMSA Vintage at Okayama.
Someone said Okayama?
I did.
The C-Fix trucks and open trucks are at the Coliseum this week, so we know where we're not racing this week.
That's an IR killer. So we'll leave you with this one. This one's not even on the list here, but it's something we saw on Twitter. I shared it over in the Discord page a little bit ago. As Telder was out taking care of stuff before we went on the air, Miles and I caught, and shout out to Moonhead, by the way, Moon Car, one of the fun broadcasts you can watch with like Cup guys and just whoever from the Pro Series will show up over there and race. They were doing Talladega tonight or Monday night. They were doing the 87s at Talladega, but not like you would think. The front stretch was pit road.
Yeah, it was wild. But it was fun. 5 wide.
Down pit road.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man, I remember I used to run back in like Friday, Saturday nights. We used to like hosted hop, jump back and forth between just random hosted public lobbies. And I want to say his name was Chris. I want to say his name was McGuire. Chris McGuire.
Mm-hmm.
He had a 200 mile an hour setup for the V8 supercars at just about every 2 mile track.
Wow.
Imagine, yeah. And it was like 30% fuel or 40% fuel or something like that. So you could go around Michigan. You could go around Michigan at 212 mile an hour with all the downforce, and have to get down to 45 for the speed limit on pit road.
There was back in the day. There was a guy named.
Oh, and there was no cautions for it either.
Nice. A guy named Nordgar that I used to race back in the day before. Obviously venturing out my own. He used to host things called mystery races every night. Every night I was up to almost 2-3 in the morning, and probably affected my work, but probably my job status at places, but. Anyways, he would host races like that, just whatever, random stuff. And I remember one time I was like, hey, why don't we try this? And it was right after the Rough had come out, the Porsche. And if you remember at the time the car came out, there was 4 different models. There was the rear one that, again, could do 215 miles an hour on a default setup. We tried to run that thing at Daytona on the oval, and it drove like the 87. You could push it and fly down the straightaway, but then you got to turn 3 and it was like not turning. Craziness. So, anything else, boys? We gonna head out?
I think that's about it.
Miles, go win the LP race.
Yeah, got a race to go get ready for.
Any shout out to throw out to anybody this week?
You know what? I want to send a shout out to the people sending us feedback. Because I've read some stuff. I know, Taylor, you might be giving him a shout out, but your friend Kyle that is in the Discord with us and stuff. I guess you work with. He sent me a whole bunch of notes and things, and don't ever be scared to send me notes or whatever. If you guys have feedback or whatever, as long as you don't tell me I suck, I should be able to handle it. But
Until you swallow.
Pause.
Yeah. Oh my god!
All right,
I'm gonna head out now.
You gonna do your shout outs, or are you just gonna go bleep? Go ahead.
No, yeah, shout out to everybody that listens every week and comes back, continues. We appreciate it. That's something we just thought about doing for a while. Shout out to Miles, GLSR champion. Proud of you.
There's a fireball shot coming up after this for that.
Did the treehouse proud.
Appreciate it.
Somebody had to win a championship in that channel.
Yeah,
whatever.
I suck, so.
And never mind.
Don't make me pause second time.
Oh my goodness.
But that's about all I got this week. So,
I just shout out to the Treehouse, man. Shout out to all the leagues out there, whoever be listening in, and just be having fun on here, man. Talking about information that everybody want to know. And shout out to all our girls that let us do this and leave them upstairs pregnant or whatever. So I gotta get going anyway. So
that's your category.
Yeah, that's my category, and I mean, that's it, man. That's it for me.
Yeah, I reiterate what everybody else said there. Shout out to all the viewers or downloaders or whatever they're properly called in podcasting. Appreciate everybody and who even subscribes to the channels to get Telder affiliated with Twitch, me on YouTube, and probably could do Twitch too, but I haven't done anything on that channel in years.
I remember he used to fly planes for hours and hours.
There you go. So, all right, we're out. Telder.
It's not just a podcast. It's ScalaCast.
There you go. See ya.
Yep.
Yeah.
Back to the treehouse.
You gotta go. Yeah. You gotta go back to the treehouse. Gotta practice a little too.
This copyrighted broadcast may not be reproduced, reused, or retransmitted in any form without the authorized written consent of Captain Esports Network. Captain would like to thank all of his loyal fans for your continued support, and he hopes you enjoyed today's broadcast.